There are many times when players or teams have taken over during big moments, or they just had a spectacular play that is forever a household memory. These types of moments we like to call beast mode moments. Now, to be fair, there are a ton of moments like this, and these are just a glimpse of some of those moments throughout history, but we had to start somewhere. But before we jump into the 7 most beast mode moments in the history of the NBA, please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and make sure to share the video if you enjoy it. At 7, we have the shrug. What is one reason that Michael Jordan achieved such greatness as a basketball player? One could be from his maniacal competitiveness and sociopathic desire to not just beat his opponents, but to pound and humiliate them while letting them know that he is the one administering the pain. Such was evident during the 1992 NBA Finals, when MJ addressed all the buzz about his matchup with Clyde Drexler by crushing Clyde the Glide and the Portland Trailblazers. And it's not as though Jordan wasted any time doing so either. He set finals records for threes, 6 of them, and points, 35 of them, all in the first half during the first 24 minutes of the series. Even MJ, a mediocre long-range shooter at that point in his career, was astounded by how hot he was, or so his shrugs indicated. Jordan finished with 39 points as the Bulls won Game 1 by a whopping 33 points, before wrapping up their second consecutive title in 6. Coming in at number 6, we have Reggie Miller, who scores 8 points in 8.9 seconds. This will forever give me nightmares. But seriously, aside from his back-breaking and accurate three-point shooting, nothing defined Reggie Miller's career quite like his tormenting of the New York Knicks. Reggie's trolling of the Big Apple reached a climax in Game 1 of the 1995 Eastern Conference semifinals. The Knicks appeared to have the game at hand, with the Pacers needing to make up a 6-point deficit in the final 18.7 seconds to win the game. So, of course, Miller hit 1 3 off an inbounds pass to cut the Knicks' lead in half. Then he quickly stole the ball from New York, stepped behind the three-point line, and buried another to pull the Pacers even. After a pair of missed free throws by John Starks, my favorite Knick of all time, Miller grabbed the rebound from a 10-foot brick by Patrick Ewing and drew a foul, much to the disagreement of the crowd at MSG. Reggie stepped to the line and knocked down both shots, but not before taunting all those in attendance. Miller finished with 31 points, and the Pacers went on to win the series in 7. Number 5, KLAY THOMPSON erupts for a season high only in the first half versus the Bulls. KLAY THOMPSON is always the forgotten man on the Warriors. You always hear about Curry, KD when he was there, or Draymond because of his childish antics, but KLAY doesn't get the love he deserves. Let's be real, the Warriors don't win all those championships without him. He's clutch, and can go 0 to beast mode in 3 seconds. For instance, KLAY THOMPSON exploded for a season high against the Chicago Bulls in 1 half a few years ago. Thompson exploded for 36 points at the end of the first half. He shot an impressive 12 of 16 from the field and 10 of 14 from beyond the arc. The Warriors were up by a hefty margin against the Bulls, 92 to 50. Yes, you're hearing that right. That's 92 points in the 1 half alone. KLAY is a stud. Number 4, Ron Artest rescues the Lakers in Game 7 versus the Celtics. Artest is well known for all the bad things he has done, but deep down, he's a good guy who just needed to be guided a bit. Case in point, the Los Angeles Lakers may well have wound up with yet another disappointing NBA Finals loss to the Boston Celtics in 2010, if not for the surprising uprising from Ron Artest. With Kobe Bryant struggling and the Lakers down by as many as 13 points in the third quarter of Game 7, it was good old Ron Artest, aka Meta World Peace, who stepped up with his best game of the series, if not the entire season. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 steals, and 1 assist, with a crucial three-pointer to put LA ahead by 6 with a minute to go. The Finals MVP trophy went to Kobe anyway, though Artest was still rewarded with plenty of post-game airtime, which he put to excellent use with the post-game interview about thanking his therapist. And he followed that with one of the most entertaining press conferences in NBA history. Queensbridge, stand up. At number 3, the LeBron James coming out party. These are one of those games that you just remember where you were at that time, what was happening, and what you were feeling. The basketball world knew LeBron James was very good from the moment he donned his Cleveland Cavaliers jersey as a rookie in 2003, but few knew how good he might turn out to be until he beat the Detroit Pistons all by himself in Game 5 of the 2007 Eastern Conference Finals. The then 22-year-old King scored a career playoff high 48 points, including the Cavs' last 25 and 29 of their final 30, to carry Cleveland to a 109-107 win in double overtime. To put that in perspective, as if it isn't already impressive enough on its own, LeBron James was the only Cav to score for more than a quarter's worth of time at the end of the game, 12 minutes and 47 seconds to be exact. Can you imagine seeing one player do all of his team's scoring for an entire quarter? Better yet, can you imagine that player's team winning such a game? Against an opponent playing in its 5th straight conference finals, no less? Then again, coming up with a player of LeBron's size, skill, and athletic ability would be tough. Number 2, Willis Reed rallies the Knicks to their first NBA title. In purely statistical terms, Willis Reed didn't do much during Game 7 of the 1970 NBA Finals. He scored just 4 points on 2 shots in the New York Knicks' 113-99 victory. The real MVP of the game was Walt Frazier, who had 36 points and 19 assists, but unfortunately, that seems forgettable at best. Nobody expected Reed to even step onto the court that night. He'd missed Game 6 of that series against the Los Angeles Lakers after tearing a muscle in his right thigh during Game 5. Willis could barely walk, much less play a game of basketball. And yet, there he was, limping out onto the floor at Madison Square Garden, jumping center against Wilt for the opening tip. The pain in Reed's leg dulled by a pregame injection, the adrenaline in his body, and the roar of an insane crowd of New Yorkers. Those 2 buckets that Reed scored weren't dependent on their victory, but they were the first 2 of the game for New York and served to rally the rest of the Knicks to the franchise's first NBA championship. Before we get into the number 1 most beast mode moment in NBA history, don't forget to leave this video a like and subscribe down below if you haven't already. Finally, at number 1, Michael Jordan drops 63 on the Celtics. LeBron's outburst versus the Pistons was jaw-dropping, but it still pales in comparison to Michael Jordan's 63-point annihilation against the Boston Celtics in 1986. Why? Because this was the first truly ground-shifting NBA moment in the career of one of the greatest basketball players ever. Remember, Jordan had spent most of the 1985-86 season sidelined by a broken foot and had been encouraged by the Bulls to sit out its entirety as a precautionary measure. This was even documented on The Last Dance. But rather than play it safe, Jordan, in his second year as a pro, worked his way back, played the final 15 games of the regular season, and led the Bulls back into the playoffs. Chicago's stint lasted only 3 games, as the Bulls were methodically swept by the eventual champion Celtics. But Jordan made sure that his team's short stay would be a memorable one nonetheless. So, naturally, MJ dropped a playoff record 63 points on a Celtics squad that's arguably the greatest ever assembled after spending 4.5 months injured. Realistically though, all you need to do to understand how great Jordan was in that game is read what Larry Bird, then a basketball god, had to say afterward. I didn't think anyone was capable of doing what Michael has done to us. He is the most exciting, awesome player in the game today. I think it's just God disguised as Michael Jordan. You heard that right. Jordan was so good in that game that Larry Legend described him as the Holy One. Check out some of these videos that appear on your screen.